Hi, hello, and welcome back to another video and another training chit chat. Today is gonna be a pretty chill, unplanned one where I'm just gonna let myself ramble for a bit because I've had not the nicest weekend. My last wisdom's tooth is like coming in, having its like last little growth spurt, so my gums are very sore. So I have problems with like eating and sleeping because pain. It's not a strong pain, but it's a kind of aching pain that's always there and annoying. So I haven't been in the greatest of moods over the weekend, and I didn't have time to sit down and film anything. Or I did have time, I just, I was in pain. But today I'm like, you know what, let's just have a chill video. I had planned to record something else, and then I'm like, no, I want to do something chill that I'm already familiar with. Let's just do the Halloween stuff and maybe some other stuff and just, hang out. I can talk about whatever, and you can, put this on in the background and train your horses along with me. So yeah, without further ado, I think there should be a tornado, and it's close by. I think it's it's at an angle. I don't know how many more minutes. It's probably only like 2 minutes. I don't know if we're gonna make it. I got distracted. I forgot I was in the middle of posting on Instagram, and then my lunch was done, and I ate my lunch, and then I did the dishes, and then I was like started to prep the recording, and then I realized, oh shit, posting the those are interesting. I mean, yeah, okay. It is working. Perhaps not as intended. But, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Okay, this is a bug, but... you know how a lot of players will say, oh, it's not a bug, it's a feature, as a joke? Or, as a joke? Yeah, joke. You say it's a j sound. It always becomes the egg thing. Game devs, at least game dev students, which I was up until like June. No, it's 4 months now. Oh my god, it's been since like June. Which I was up until recently. We say that a lot. Whenever we encounter a bug, everyone's like, no, it's fine, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Like, we are very much aware it is a bug and we need to fix it. And where are my soul shards? But we like to say that too. We do like to say that too. Okay, there was one. Can I find the final one? Because that would be great. Like, I'm assuming it's somewhere up in like a tree, since I can't find it. I would love to find the final one. Star stable. Pretty please. Let me have soul shard. I guess it disappeared now, so I guess now it might be too late to find it. But I'm gonna do one last lap and see if I can find anything remotely helpful for my cause. And my cause is I need soul shards. I have 57, but it's because I didn't exchange for tokens yesterday. Otherwise I would have like 20 something. And I want to do that as many days as possible. So yeah, I think this is a lost cause. It's very empty, but first of all, as you can see, I am not an air star because there's a championship. Yeah, I'm not gonna find the rest of your soul, buddy. You disappeared, and you throw them up into the top of trees. I cannot climb trees. Sorry, I had to stretch, but I'm using the microphone, so you didn't have to hear my joints popping, because I know some people find that, how do you say it? They find it uncomfortable to hear the sound. I don't always remember doing that, and I don't always do it on purpose as well. I just have interesting joints. I do have joint pain problems, and I don't know if I don't think the cracking my knuckles and neck and stuff actually helps, but it probably makes it worse. I actually don't think it makes it worse because it is primarily genetical, probably. But it's definitely not helping. But I mean, it feels good in the moment. So we're gonna remember it was Silver Glade Championship. So I moved stables once again. Now I'm living at Steve's. I am not enjoying it. I am not a Steve's person, but I am living at Steve's right now. Okay, we're gonna make a potion. Which one do you want? I'm asking you, not the one you want. Ancient. I don't know how to make these ones. I'm gonna assume Ghost would make sense as ancient. It doesn't really have anything else that's ancient, but I'm gonna double check. So I'm looking my phone, and then I remember I sent an Instagram post. It's by Haley Hawk Rock, and she has like put together like what stuff makes what potion. Also, Nokila Easton has one, but I use Haley Hawk Rock because hers is both English and Swedish, and obviously I don't know the names of all these things. Like, I know this is flax, but I always confuse, like, I think this is bee balm, and that is, how do you say, it doesn't load, okay, I can't remember. I confused the name of this one, which I would love to be able to see. It's Rubia, so I confuse Rubia with bee balm a lot when I see the English one, so I want one in Swedish. We want, as I thought, we want the ghost goo and we want the jute. And that's gonna make the ancient one. Yeah. And then we can give that to Justine, and you get one singular fall token for that. I'm hoping that as the week goes on, we either get more tokens or that we get more ghosts who wants potions that gives more tokens, because, you know, I want more tokens. I feel like we can run one race before the championships. We're gonna do Galloper's Haunted race. I said I was just gonna talk about anything and everything, but I feel like I need to talk about something else and just exactly what I'm doing, because, like, then why would you be listening to this video? And if you follow me on Instagram, you might know this. I actually haven't posted about this for a bit, but I sometimes post my stories to books I'm reading, so I love reading. I read a lot of books. My yearly reading goal every year is 50 books, and I met that quite a while back. So yeah, my yearly goal, 50 books. I've currently read, let me check. I can actually check that out, because I recently I did mention this on my Instagram, but I did not mention it on here. I recently started using like a reading tracking app, which I've never done before. I've never had anything like Goodreads or anything like that. It's never interested in me. I've solely used reading diaries and journals to track what I'm reading and what I liked it, and I'm trying out Pagebound right now. I wanted to try out and support it since it is women-made and anti-AI, made by 2 women. I think they're from the States. So yeah, I've been enjoying it, like the features and stuff and the way it looks very much, but the reason I have avoided platforms like Goodreads is because I don't really enjoy the like social aspects of those platforms, and this is quite a social platform. So there's a lot of people just like having their opinions, and like that is fine, you're allowed to have your opinions, but there are a lot of people on the internet and therefore there are a lot of opinions, and it gets very overwhelming to always listen to that. So I just kind of limit now how much I use the platform, because there's always going to be people with very strong opinions, and there's opinions of all varieties, and it's just too much information, and then like it kind of just makes it feel like reading books is a problem, because no matter what you do, there's people like, oh, that book was bad or whatever, and people are obviously allowed to have their different opinions, but and it can obviously be still insightful to read like a low rating of a book you really liked, because it's often still points out stuff you're aware of, but things that you personally could overlook or that didn't bother you personally. Like sometimes it's the writing style, and you can acknowledge it. Like, I don't have a problem with this type of writing style, but I can understand if other people do. I did grab the championship thing. So yeah, but I have been enjoying page one, but I'm gonna check on my reading challenge for the year. So my goal is 50 books, which I reached in, I believe, April, which I usually do in April, or sometimes like May, June, but it's usually pretty early in the year. But I've read, as of today, 91 books. As of the day I'm recording this. I might have read more books when you're seeing this, because I currently have a couple of mangas checked out from my library on Libby, which is an ebook like app platform. You can borrow book. If your library has Libby, you can borrow ebooks from your library through Libby. And manga is pretty quick reads. I can usually read a volume in like 30 minutes or something. So I read one manga last night, and then I started another manga last night, and then I finished it like right after midnight, so that was today. So now it's up to 91. And I guess like I can talk about what I read. What I'm reading. Also, if you are you're here, you don't watch all my videos, which is fine, watch what you're interested in. Like that's what I do. If someone I subscribe to makes a video that doesn't interest me, I'm not gonna watch it. And that's how interest works. But I did a training chit chat back. I think it came out in May, but I did record it on like the 3rd of April, in which I talked about books. It's my like book, my book talk, training chit chat. And in that one I talk about how since my first year at university, I have had a tradition of finishing one book every day of April. And the keyword there is finishing. I don't have to start the book that day, I don't even have to start it that month or even that year. But I have a tendency I'm a mood reader, so I have a tendency to start books, and then I get distracted, and then I mood read something else, and then I have a struggle to come back to the books I've started. So I take April to finish books that I've been sitting on for a while. And then also I do rereads. I count rereads always, but in April specifically I can only count a reread if it isn't, like, it's the first time that April I finished it. So if I read that book, what's a great example? Like, so say I read a book when it came out, and it came out like this year. I'm so confusing. I don't know if I'm explaining this well. I definitely aren't. I'm definitely not. So like I think the first book I finished this year in April was You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian. Yeah, Cat Sebastian. I was like, wait, is it Sebastian Cat or Cat Sebastian? It's Cat Sebastian. And that was a reread for me, because I read it when it came out in 2024, in I think summer, I'm not sure. And then I started reread in March, and then I didn't finish it until like the 1st of April. So that counted as the book I finished on the 1st of April 2025 now. If I had read that book again in April, I could not have counted it, because it was a reread from the same month. Usually, even if it's a same month reread, because sometimes that's what I need emotionally, I can count it. But I don't do that in April, and that's because I also... The goal of that challenge is to succeed, and also to read books I have left unfinished, but to keep myself motivated, I know I have to make it something that is possible for me to do and plausible. And the way I do that is also by allowing rereads of short books, or just a manga or something on days when I'm stressed. I can read like a quick graphic novel. I have a couple ones, like I have the Lou graphic novels from when I was a kid, by Julian Neal, I think they are. He's a French author and illustrator. There was also a TV show of that when I was a kid, but I did not like the TV show. I also have the Fence graphic novels, which I love, that I'm currently collecting because it's currently like being released. We get like a volume every year. I have talked about Fence so many times, but it's by C.S. Pacat and Johanna the Mad, and it's about a young, like I guess, boy, teenager, and he's the illegitimate son of a pro fencer. Come on! You're messing stuff up with me, you dumb ghost. But yeah, he's the illegitimate son of a pro fencer, and he decides he wants to like become a fencer without like his dad's help. So he wants to go to like a fencing school. He gets a scholarship for a private school where they have a fencing team, and he gets a scholarship on like you have to make the team. And then he shows up, and his like greatest rival, who is the like best friend of his half brother, the legitimate son of the pro fencer, is there. And not only that, it's his like roommate, and it causes a lot of tension. And it's very fun. I have that, and then I have a bunch of manga. I have my Naruto manga from when I was 13. I have the first 7 volumes. I held up my fingers, like you can see that, but also I'm steering with one hand, so I only held up 5 fingers. I didn't hold up the correct amount even. Like, you can't even see it, and I can't even do it correctly. Like, I'm dumb. I should probably like log on and off to get that bug to disappear. But I'm in the middle of recording, so I don't feel like doing that. I also hope I actually am recording, or like the recording isn't bugged. Wait, let me check for a moment. I mean, I am definitely recording, but I can't tell if it's bugged or not until I finished it, and I'm scared because it was a while between I did my test recording and then I actually started recording, so now I'm scared. But I'm always scared because I'm an anxious person. But yeah, I have my Naruto manga. I also have a lot of the Spy Family manga. I don't have all of it. I borrowed the first volume, so I have volume 5, and then I have volume 7 through 12. I have ordered volume 13. It has not arrived. I am bugged about it because I ordered it in August, and it was supposed to arrive like within 2 weeks after ordering. It's October, and it has yet to even be shipped. So I'm a little bit pissed about that. Same with, I ordered 2 more volumes of Snow White with the Red Hair, which I do own volume 1 through 12 of, I think. Yeah, 1 through 12. So I ordered volume 13 and 14 of Snow White with the Red Hair. Also supposed to ship like within 2 weeks of ordering back in August, and it's October and they haven't even been shipped. Just a little bit upset about that. But I can't track the shipping at least, so like I am not always a confrontational person, but I'm getting closer to an angry email. But yeah, I have a little manga, like I said, Spy Family. I have Snow White with the Red Hair. I have 2 volumes of A Man and His Cat, which is a cute, cozy little like manga about an older man who adopts a cat, and a lot of the story is told through the cat's perspective, who's quite young and doesn't know much, but he's just happy to be around, and such. That's most of what I have. And then obviously I just recently realized, or not recently, I known for a couple of months that my library have manga on Libby. They don't have all the manga. Like, they don't have Spy Family, don't have Snow White with Red Hair, which are this series I'm primarily reading. But they have a lot of the Apothecary Diaries manga. There's 2 manga of Apothecary Diaries because it's originally a light novel, and there's 2 manga adaptations of that. But this is the manga adaptation that the anime is based off of. So there's one light novel, or is the light novel that's the source material. Then it's a manga that is like very like more about the mystery part, which is primarily what is the focus of the light novel. And then there's one manga that, while it is also very much focused on like the mystery parts, which obviously like the Apothecary Diaries is a mystery, like one mystery per episode kind of like story. It's set in a fictional world inspired by historical like China. But this one is also has like a more focus on the romance, which like there is a romance aspect to the light novel as well, but it's not as much as in like the anime or in the manga adaptation that the anime is based off. So that is the manga that my library has, and that's the one I've been reading. I've read 9 volumes. I'm not reading that very fast though, because I am entirely caught up with the English release of the light novel. So I've read all the way to like volume 14 of the light novel. And if anyone here is watching anime and have watched the Apothecary Diaries, because it was super popular and I do recommend it, with both seasons of the anime, that covers I think up till the end of volume 4 of the light novel. And I've read to volume 14 or through volume 14. So yeah, there's a lot more of that story, and I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. So yeah, if you're interested in that, I can recommend the light novel. It's really good, or the manga, or you know, if it sounds, yeah, it's like historical, and it's a very good story, but like with a lot of strong female characters, who are strong. Like, they are strong, not as like I don't know how to say it. Sometimes when you're watching or reading something historical, and you have a strong female character that's kind of strong in the modern sense, like how you expect a strong female character to be in a modern world setting, it kind of feels off-putting because it doesn't really make sense in that society. But you still don't want to see, you know, oppressed characters, or like characters that are fine with the way they're being treated. At least not all of them. It makes sense because being complicit in your own how do you say it in English? Your own oppression is quite a common thing historically. I mean, there are women out there who voted for Trump. That in a way could be seen as an being complicit in women's oppression, and therefore your own oppression if you're a woman. This is not supposed to be political, but I mean, like, the entire world is political. Just for anyone here, I'm not American, but if I were, I definitely wouldn't have voted for Trump. Because I know better. The man is bad. But yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about. But it has a lot of female characters because we follow a girl called Mao Mao. She grew up in a like poor district, or she grew up in the pleasure district. It's called, it's like a red light district, but like old terminology. And like her mother was a courtesan, and she was adopted by a doctor who is a eunuch, so like he can't have children, but he adopts her and trains her to become an apothecary. But then she is kidnapped and by some people who sells her into like service at the palace as a maid, because it was a way, like it's based on a real thing where like families who had a lot of children, if they couldn't didn't have enough money to feed them, they could like sell children as maids to like the palace, and then they you know, they knew that the child would have somewhere to live and somewhere to work and stuff, but it was a system where you couldn't really moderate if the people who were being sold into service were actually related to people who were reaping profit. And that's kind of what happens to her. And she decides to keep her head low and not cause any troubles, but also she doesn't want to get like a high paying position. She doesn't want these people to get a lot of money to just, you know, buy alcohol for. So she pretends she can't read and stuff, and then she has a lot of knowledge of medicine, so when she realizes that, and she gets sent to work in the inner palace, which is where like all the women that are like unofficially married to the emperor live, because that's like the time in history it is. And then she realized that like all the emperor's children are dying and people think he's cursed, and then she realizes it's because of like poisonous face powder, and she starts leaving notes, and she's discovered, and then she gets like she gets involved in helping solve more like medicinal mysteries around the palace and around other places, and that's kind of what the story's about. And I'm really bad at explaining this, but it's a really good story, and there are a lot of really strong female characters like Mama, the protagonist, but also there's sorry, I thought I muted my watch, I didn't, sorry. But there's also oh wait, Mama is, but it's not a consort, she's a courtesan. I don't know if I said consort, that's wrong. Consorts are the like unofficial wives of the emperor. But there's consort Gyokyo, who's the consort that Mama gets to serve when they find out, like she saves consort Gyokyo's daughter, Princess Lingli, and by like leaving a note about like the poisonous face powder. And then she gets to like work for her and help solve stuff, and like I think also Gyokyo is quite a strong character. So is like other characters we meet, like Shisu, who we meet in season 2, and also like Mama's sisters like Pairin and Mei Mei and what's her name, Yoka. I like them as well, but a lot of it is shown more, I guess, in the light novel, because you have more time for her to like finish her service in the palace and get back to like her family and her sisters. But yeah, it's really good. I would recommend Apothecary Diaries if anyone's interested. A lot of people are really interested in the slow burn romance between Mao Mao and Jinshi. And Jinshi is the person who's like in charge of the inner palace and like making sure everything there runs smoothly and that the emperor's children survives. But yeah, there's a slow burn romance between these two, but it's primarily like a medical mystery like story. But then there is a very slow burn, like yearning romance, especially between like Jinshi definitely falls for Mao Mao first, with her background of where she grew up. She's very like cautious of men, especially very pretty men, and Jinshi is using his looks to like manipulate people into doing what he needs them to do, and also used to people not valuing him for more than his face. So when Mao is downright like disinterested in him or like wary of him because of his prettiness, he kind of like he tries to get hard to get her to fall for him, and he ends up falling for her instead, which is very funny. And then like slowly she starts to like warm up for him too, but it's like towards the end of season 2 of the anime when she like really warms up to him, I'd say. But obviously there's a lot more in the light novel because it's so much ahead of the anime. But it's really good, and as someone who prefers my romance slow burn and slow burn and full of yearning, that's the word, yearning. I love that. Like sometimes the best romance is not from romance stories. That being said, I also love Snow White with Red Hair, which is a romance, but about an apothecary. So yeah, I love that one too. Okay, this is a candle. So maybe I should talk about the manga I've been reading now. So I borrowed the latest volume. I'm in the Apothecary Diaries that I need to read, which is volume 10. Okay, that's just a ruby. I don't need to pick that. So I have volume 10 now on Libby, which I bought last night, and I also bought volume 2 of My Dress Up Darling, because that is the one I finished late last night or early this morning, depending on how you want to see it. And that is because I watched the first season of the anime that came out a few years ago, I think when I was in my first year at university, maybe my second, I can't remember. So it's like 2 or 3, up to 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I saw that. I think it's a little bit of season 2 now when it came out, but not a lot, maybe just like an episode. But I saw the first season that came out and I found it interesting, so I wanted to, try out the manga now that I saw my library had it, and I had forgotten how many awkward moments there were between the protagonists in the beginning. Because I know they are in the anime. So My Dress Up Darling is about 2 teenagers called Gojo and Marin, and Gojo's family runs a shop that makes like traditional like Japanese dolls, and that's something he's always wanted to work with because that's what his family does. But when he was quite young, one of his classmates called him weird and yelled at him because he liked dolls, because boys aren't supposed to like dolls, so he's kind of like been scared of interacting with other people since. So he's kind of like kept a distance from people, and then one day he is at the sewing club in his school to like practice making like clothes for these traditional dolls, and he runs into Marin, who is like quite a popular person, and he has like noted previously that she is someone who's kind of living in a total opposite world of his, where she like doesn't let people tell her that her interests are weird, and she's unapologetically interested in the things she likes. And he runs into her because she is trying to learn how to make cosplay, but it's not going very well. So when she learns that he knows how to use a sewing machine, she kind of like begs him to help her make this cosplay for her. And that's how like their friendship starts, and they start making more and more cosplay and learn more about cosplaying, you know. And yeah, it's a sweet story, but it's a full of awkward moments between these 2 teenagers, and I weren't really expecting how heavy the fan service, so to say, would be in the manga, because I thought it would, like, it's probably not gonna be like, I knew there was a bit of it in the anime, but I don't remember it being this much. So part of me is kind of like, this is a little bit awkward, but I also know it's a lot of those awkward moments are strictly in the beginning, unless it's a lot more of it in the manga than the anime, which I obviously don't know. I've only read the first volume, and I find it's hard to judge a manga based on just one volume. Sometimes you can clearly tell this is not gonna be my cup of tea, but I feel like you usually need more than one volume to like get a better grasp of what's going on before I personally am able to say I'm gonna continue this or not in most cases. So I'm gonna give. I have got obviously the second volume of that now on Libby, so I'm gonna read that and see if I want to continue. If the so-called fan service elements are bugging me too much to want to continue with the manga, maybe I'll go back and watch season 2 of the anime. I don't know. Because I did enjoy like the friendship, and eventually it kind of like starts becoming a little bit of a romance between Gojo and Marin, but there are a lot of moments that are just kind of awkward to read. And that's also kind of why it's hard to recommend manga and anime in a lot of cases, because everyone has their own individual like limit of how much like fan service content, which for people who aren't well versed in like anime and manga, fan service is like is the term used for things that aren't sexual, but it could be seen as like, it isn't explicitly sexual, it isn't really sexual, but it's done in a way that's very clearly supposed to like indicate those type of thoughts, either from the characters or towards like the reader or watcher, and most people just find it annoying in my experience. And everyone has their own limit of how much of that they're willing to look past in a show or a manga. I will say though that in my like there is none of that in Apothecary Diaries, so that's why I'm very like clear. I can very much like recommend. Same goes with Snow White with the Red Hair. There's no fan service in that one. But yeah, like moments it doesn't make sense. They're clearly only put in there to put these characters in these awkward positions because it's believed that like the viewers or stuff is gonna want that. I don't personally want that, but yeah, it's really hard to recommend anime and manga because of that, because everyone has their own threshold of how much they're willing to look past or what they're like fine with reading or seeing. And there was a lot more of it in the manga than I was expecting based on what I remember from the anime. So we'll see how much of this manga I read. But I'm gonna give the second volume a try because, once again, I find it hard to judge a manga in just one volume because they're usually quite short and you don't get a lot of the story. And I did enjoy the story of learning about like cosplay and stuff like that. So I'm gonna see like if it gets worse, then I probably won't continue. But if it stays the same or it gets like less of it, then I'm probably gonna continue because then I can look past that personally. And then the other manga I checked out from Libby was volume 1 of the. I'm gonna check what it was called. It's called The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl, which I've heard the name before, but I haven't heard a lot about it. But I saw it was on Libby, so obviously I could read it for free, borrowing it from my library. I did that. And it was very cute. It follows, like, it's very short stories. It's just a couple of pages long per chapter. So you have like little, I call them like bite-sized chapters. Following a guy, I can't remember his name. Himuru is his name. And he is the descendant of a snow spirit. So when he gets like too excited or happy or stuff, he like causes snows, or is too focused, he causes like blizzards and snowstorms, and he does it like around him, so like indoors. And then it's like kind of like small bite-sized cute chapters between him and his co-worker Fuyutsuki, who is like a very cool-headed person, I guess, and he has a bit of like a crush on her, like a workplace crush, and they just like tiny short chapters with them interacting with each other that are just very sweet. And then there are also kind of funny side characters. They have two co-workers that just they have a bit of fun interactions with as well. It was just very cute and wholesome, and I'm my library didn't have the second volume of this, but they had a fourth volume, the first and fourth, which is an odd combination to have. But I requested for them to buy volume 2, so hopefully do that, and then I'm gonna try out volume 2 as well, because I don't feel like reading volume 4 if I haven't read volume 2 and 3. And I also, like, this is the library, like the city library from where I went to university, which I obviously don't live there anymore, so I only borrow ebooks from them, because I still have the library card. So, like, if it is the case that they have the physical ones for volume 2 and 3, then I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I'm not about to take a couple of hours trip with a train just to borrow a couple of books, because then I would have to, like, go back. I guess if I have any reason to go back there, I could go to the library, see if they have them there that day, and then I could, like, go and read them at the library, I guess, and not check them out. But I didn't see them having a lot of, like, manga physically. I know they had, like, Sword Art Online, a couple of volumes physically, but that's the only one I saw, like, while I was there. So I didn't think they had a lot of manga, because I knew, like, from my hometown library, which is a very small library in a very small town, they had, like, 30-something volumes of Naruto that I read when I was 13, and, like, they took up quite a big amount of shelf space, obviously. So yeah, those are the manga I've read recently. I also recently read one called Bless. That was not digitally though, I bought that one, because I saw some posts about it, and then I saw it was, like, on sale somewhere, I can't remember where, and I ordered it a while ago. At the same time as I ordered Spy Family Volume 13 and my other volumes of Snow White with Red Hair that haven't arrived, but Bless have arrived, because they shipped them separately. But the other ones haven't been even shipped yet. That's the thing. It's not that the packages got lost. It's like they haven't even left the warehouse yet, or the store or whatever. I read Bless recently. That was in the end of September though. But that was a sweet one. Also one, like, I haven't really got a grip of the story yet, because I only read one volume, and it's hard for me to judge a manga based on just one volume. But it was, like, a sweet one. It's about following two classmates, one who's, like, in high school, one used to be, like, a model in, like, before high school, and then he decided to stop being a model because he wanted to be a makeup artist, but no one took him seriously, so he kind of, like, gave up on his dreams. And then like, for the schools, like, what do you call them, this is a common arc in, like, anime, that they have, like, school theme days, like a market, and other people come to the school, and the classes host, like, activities to, I guess, try and gather money or something. But they have, like, a fashion show that all classes compete in, and at this school, and then his class is like, oh, you should do it because you used to be a model, and he's like, yeah, fine, I could be a part of the team. And then someone has to be a stylist, so they kind of just, there's this girl that everyone, that, like, people just, like, put all the work on, and they're like, oh, you have to do it, like, please, and she has a hard time saying no, but then they start talking, and then she realizes that he actually wants to be a makeup artist, and then she's like, what if we swap? What if I do the model and you do, like, the styling? And, like, we shock everyone, and then they do that, and it was very sweet, and I'm definitely willing to read more of that, but yeah. Once again, yeah, you can't really judge it. Have seen too little. I did actually, 2 days ago, I finished also Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is my second book by Christie, and also my second book following Hercule Poirot, who is one of the two detectives in her stories. She has Hercule Poirot and then Miss Marple, I think the other one is, that Christie wrote. But Christie is obviously considered the queen of mysteries or the queen of crime novels, and yeah, I see why this is the second book by her. They are amazing. They are also considered, you know, golden age crime fiction is what Christie wrote. And I took a class on British crime literature last fall, so I know that like a golden age crime fiction usually has a very like closed off small space it takes place in, that with a very like strict setting of like what is what and who is like how big of an area it can take place in, with a very close cast. So like a cast of characters that are very close to that place, and where, you know, it won't be the stuff of like, oh, it could be a job of an outside person. Like, it obviously has to be one of the persons, because like, you know, it could be stuff like, oh, they're stuck on an island, like I haven't read, and then there was none, but that's also written by Christie, where they're like stuck on an island and then like only one person survives, and so obviously it has to be one of the people on the island that is the one who is guilty of the murder. But yeah, and obviously in the Murder on the Orient Express, it's the train gets stuck and snowed in the mountains, and then in the morning one of the passengers is dead, and obviously they've been stuck and snowed in. No one has been able to get in or out of the train. So like someone of the other passengers obviously has to be the murderer, and it was very interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like at this point I have to read a Christie book every fall, because they're just also so atmospherical. Like, if you haven't read anything written by Agatha Christie, do. Last year for school we had to read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and yeah, it was like so autumnal and so atmospheric, and I was like, oh my god, this is so great. And now I read Murder on the Orient Express, and even though that's more like winter with old snow, it's still so atmospheric, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to be reading Christie's for every fall going forward, as long as I have a Christie left to read. So this is me telling you, go read an Agatha Christie. She is not one of the best-sold authors of all time, without reason. The only books who sell better than her is the Bible, and some, like, I think the only author who sells better is William Shakespeare. So if the only ones who can beat you are the literal Bible and William Shakespeare, then you know you're good, okay? Go read something by Agatha Christie. If you haven't already, like, do it. And also, they aren't really scary. Like, I'm gonna say that, like, if you don't want to read like something that's scary, because obviously when I took my class on crime, British crime fiction, we read both like very old ones, like The Study in Scarlet, which is the first Sherlock Holmes story, and that is also considered like the first crime novel story. And then we read all the way up into like modern stuff, so we read the Noughts and Crosses by, I don't feel like trying to see that all the way to the other end of the room at the fence at my bookshelf who the author is. Ian Rankin, Noughts and Crosses, which is the first like in a series of like crime novels following a detective called Rebus in, I can't remember where he is. It's one of the countries in the UK, I think, but it's not England. And I can't remember if it's Ireland or Scotland. I think it's Ireland. Like, it's obviously one in like, not necessarily the UK, but it's in Britain, because obviously it was British crime fiction. That was the class. But that was a little bit scary at times. That's a modern book. That was the most modern one we read. I don't know when that came out. Let me check. that came out, okay, in 1987, so it's not super new, but that's a lot newer than obviously like Sherlock Holmes. They came out in like the 1800s. Or Agatha Christie's books, they came out in like the 1920s and 30s. I don't know when the Murder Express, when Murder on the Orient Express came out specifically. That one was 1934, so that was 1930s. But I know, for example, the Murder of Roger Ackroyd was in 1925, I think. So, yeah. They are quite old, but they are more like, you never have to like fear the murderer, right? And it isn't like psychological. It's like psychological way trying to like figure out what's the motives, but yeah, like there's never any like scary chase scenes. I guess spoilers for Noughts and Crosses, but there's kind of like this chase scene like in these like old forgotten like tunnels under the city towards the end of the book, like with the murderer, and like that was kind of intense, and there's nothing like that. It's more like purely like interviews and looking at the clues and you know, just talking to the suspects and not the victim. Obviously the victim is dead in a murder story, but yeah, it's quite good. I would recommend everyone to try out an Agatha Christie. And Murder on the Orient Express is a very short one, and it's also a classic. So like, it might have been spoiled for you. It wasn't spoiled for me. I just knew like it was a story, but no one ever spoiled what happened. So I decided to read it now, even though that's like number 10 of the Hercule Poirot books. Obviously, I didn't start with the first one either. We read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is the 4th one in class. So I was like, yeah, I've already like got them out of order. I'm gonna read this one that I have on my shelf already. I thrifted a couple years ago, and 2, it's the most well-known one, I feel like, and it haven't been spoiled for me yet, so I want to read it before it gets spoiled. So yeah, I would say read a Christie. Poirot, the protagonist in most of her books, is quite pretentious at times. I found her a lot more pretentious in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd than in The Murder of the Orient Express. But I don't know, it's because the Murder of Roger Ackroyd is told from another person's perspective, and he's describing the way he views Poirot, while The Murder of on the Orient Express is told from Poirot's perspective. And he was a lot less pretentious, in my opinion, in this book than he was in other ones. But eventually, like, Christie herself grew tired of him. She found him to be annoying and very pretentious, so that's when she made up a new character, Miss Marple, who she tells a lot of her other stories from. And the only other book except Murder of Roger Ackroyd and Murder on the Orient Express, a lot of murder here. Like, I've obviously read those now. I own one more book by Christie that I've bought, also thrifted, and that is At Bertram's Hotel, and that is a Miss Marple book. So I guess most likely my next Agatha Christie read is going to be At Bertram's Hotel. What else have I read? I finally finished Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I bought this in 2022, early 2022, and I read a bit of it, and then I put it down, as the mood reader I am, and then I just never got back to it. And I also, like, it was kind of a struggle to read back then, but then I picked it up now in September again, and I kind of just flew through it, because I feel like I shouldn't have read it in spring. I picked it up in like February, and then like it went into March, April, and then I like put it down, and like I haven't looked at it for a couple of years. And now I picked it up, and I was like, it's so good, actually. Like, it's so cozy. I should have picked it up in fall. Although it wasn't sold in Sweden in fall 2021. It wasn't sold in Sweden until, like, I at least didn't see it in the stores in Sweden until 2022. It was like brand new at that point. But yeah, I did read Legends and Lattes. It was very cute. I think, what did I give it? The rating on here? Give it, wait, no, I haven't rated it. Have I? Reviews. Okay, I give it 3 stars, yeah. I didn't write a review for that one. I think it's because I had already finished the book before I got page bound. But yeah, it's cute, it's cozy. There isn't a lot of romance. There's like hinted at a potential future romance between 2 of the characters, the protagonist and another character. But it's more like throughout the book you mostly see just their friendship growing, and then like it's something that could potentially in the future after the book become a romance. But it's very sweet. So I did actually enjoy it, but I remember I didn't enjoy the beginning of it a lot. And I don't know if it was because I was younger, or if it was the wrong season or whatever, but I did enjoy it now. Should we talk about anything else than books? I went thrifting recently. As I do, I thrifted another baseball jacket, or no, varsity jacket, is that what they called? I don't know. I have 2. They're from a brand called Ventis Vision that does like Genshin Impact inspired clothing that I imported. They were expensive, but they were worth it. They're my favorite jackets I own. I would cry if anything happened to them. And then I thrifted one now. It's not a fancy brand. I think it's like H&M, but I got it for like 80 kronor, which is like $8. And yeah, it was probably like minimum 200 kronor when it was brand new, probably 3-4, and that's like, so 400 kronor is Swedish kronor specifically. It's like $40 US. But I got for 8. It has a stain on the sleeves, which is fake leather, which isn't my favorite material because it goes bad very easily. Don't think this one was like fine so far, but you know, it does take a lot of years. I recently found an old belt of mine that was fake leather from when I was like 10, and it was like, it had dried up so bad. It was like in the bottom of a drawer. It had dried out so bad, it was like crumbling my hands as I'm holding it. And then I looked at, I have a belt after my grandma that's made of leather, but very cheap leather. It's not even good quality. And that belt is minimum 40-50 years old, and it doesn't look like half as bad as a 10-year-old fake leather belt. That is like, I held it and it started crumbling in my hands, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is the different quality. Low quality, not properly treated leather, 40-50 years old. There's a little bit of wear and tear. Still looks good. And then you have 10-year-old fake leather is not usable in the slightest. So yeah, I usually don't buy stuff with fake leather. I don't usually buy stuff with real leather either, though, because it's expensive. But if I can thrift it, it's still expensive though. So no, but I thrifted that, and it has a stain on the sleeve, which is fake leather. But I am a horse girl. I have saddle soap to wash my saddles. And saddles can be, and I both have real leather saddles that are very old, from like my mom and my grandparents. My grandparents also had horses. And then I also have, my dressage saddle is faux leather. Because that's a modern saddle that was also very kindly given to us by one of my mom's friends, because it she'd like order it and it was sale really cheaply, and then like it didn't really fit her horse. So I think maybe we bought it off her really cheaply or something. But that one is faux leather, so like I have obviously saddle soap that I use for both of those, and I'm gonna see if my saddle soap, which is obviously for both leather and faux leather, if I can get the stain. It's a very small stain, so it doesn't actually matter, but I'm gonna see if I can use that to get the stain out of the sleeve. Uh, which I feel like it's just this is the person who bought it, stained it. It's like, oh, I can't ever wear it again. Donates it, and then I come up and it's like, oh, it's a stain, and it's like, but I have salt soap. I can probably get this stain out. The perks of being a horse girl. Yeah, so I thrifted that. I also thrifted a couple of CDs. I found an Avril Lavigne CD with, I can't remember what the album is called, but I recognize a couple of the songs from on there as songs I listened to when I was a teenager, like Skater Boy. And I was like, you know what, it was like 10 kronor, so like $1, and I was like, yeah, I can read. I can buy this to listen to. I've talked about this before. I like having my media that I like physically. I also picked up a couple of DVDs, including Catching Fire, so the second Hunger Games movie. I've actually only seen like 1.5 Hunger Games movies. I read the full original Hunger Games trilogy. I haven't read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have seen the movie of that, actually. I went to see that in theater with 2 friends in university. But and then I haven't read Sunrise and the Reaping either. I'm gonna read both that and Ballad one day, but I haven't. But I have only seen, I guess I've seen Ballad, Songbirds, Snakes, then I've seen the Hunger Game movie, the original, and I've also seen like half of Catching Fire, but I never finished that. So I saw Catching Fire, I bought it. I would have bought the others if they had them too, but I couldn't find them. I also picked up, they had the first season of Downton Abbey, which I mentioned, I think maybe like 2 months ago when I was borrowing Bella's Netflix, that I started watching Downton Abbey, but I didn't finish the first season. I only watched like an episode, and I kind of was like, been in the mood to watch it again, and then I happened to stumble across the entire first season on DVD in the thrift store. I was like, this is fate, I'm picking this up. And then I also saw the DVDs for the first 2 seasons of Vampire Diaries. I have never seen Vampire Diaries, but a lot of people talk about it as something that's like something they watch every fall, and I was like, you know what, I think they were 20 kronor each, so $2 each, and I was like, you know, I can spend that on trying out this show. I'm gonna do it. So I picked, those are the DVDs I picked up, so 4 of them, and then I picked up is it Happy Place? By Emil Henry? I think it's Happy Place. I found that, as well as Where the Crawdads Sing in the bookshop, or in the books section of the thrift store. So I picked those up as well. So I guess that's what I thrifted recently. Ooh, actually, I went to a market a couple of days ago. Like, it's a normal, like, fall market. And that is not, like, autumnal, actually, like, where I live. It's not, like, oh, it's not a farmer's market or, like, autumnal theme. It's just a market where people come to sell stuff. And it's, like, everything from, like, people were selling, like, fake Labubus, which, like, aren't Labubus already, like, that trend have already, like, blown over. And also, like, I never saw that people Labubus. They were just scary. I never found them cute. And I've never been like blind box type of person. Like, I would buy a couple, not get what I want, and then like that would be it. Because like I'm not gonna risk getting like 50 duplicates. That's not fun. But yeah, they were like everything like fake Pokemon cards and fake like Labubus to like homemade candies, and there's cheese and stuff. But there was someone who and then there's also like small businesses like there who sometimes local sell stuff. So like we bought cheese from a smaller local place that makes nice cheese. But there was also a store, I don't know if they're local, but they were definitely a smaller business, and they were selling like hair accessories. And a little fun fact about me is I have very long hair, like down to my butt long hair. And I also don't like having hair in my face, so I usually like braid it or stuff. And I used to have a claw clip, I actually still have, but I might have gone too long for that. so like it can't hold my hair up properly. But they had a lot of really big claw clips, and also really nice claw clips at this place. So I bought 3 claw clips. 2 of them are large enough and strong enough to hold up all my hair. I'm currently wearing one of them, and that is like plastic, and it's brown, and it has like a flower, and it's very autumnal and nice. And I bought the pink one that the clip itself is in metal, and then it's like just decorated with this like pink swirl pattern. It's very cute. And then I bought one that can't hold all of my hair, but I bought it for cute, like when I want to dress up and do some like cute so with my hair, because once again I still don't like having the hair in my face, so I want to do like a cute half up style. I bought this like heart shaped like claw clip in like metal that's looks like silver. It's silver colored, I should say, and yeah, I can do like a cute little half up with that. So I'm very happy with those purchases. I've probably been recording for ages because I've run what 3 championships. It's about to be a 4th though. Should we do a final championship and then be done for the day? Because I mean my tooth doesn't hurt a lot right now actually. That's nice. But I was still quite tired because I have slept horribly because of the pain from the tooth. Sunfield Farm. So yeah, I'm still very tired and I still need to edit this video and upload it and make a thumbnail. I'm gonna go back to talking about books because I love books, and honestly, I know a lot of people, like, I know reading has gotten popular, but also know a lot of people still don't read, and they started to become a thing of people are calling people who read a lot, like, snobs, and I'm like, no, like, reading is cool, it always has been. I am the type of person where, like, if you own or read, like, because I know owning books is expensive, but, like, you know, you have libraries, and at least in Sweden, libraries are entirely free. And also audiobooks count. I'm dyslexic. I would not be reading as much as I do without audiobooks. But if you read less books than you have friends, I don't know if I can trust you. So yeah, I read usually minimum of 50 books a year. I can usually beat that by quite a lot as well. Obviously, this year I'm already at 91 books and we're only in October. Not sure if I'm gonna make it all the way to 100, depends. I think if I continue reading a lot of manga I'm reading, I might, because you read manga pretty quickly. But if I don't know if I'm gonna read a full 10 books more. But I have 2 more books checked out on Libby from my library, and it's the audiobook for the X-Hex by, this came out in like 2021, I think, and it's by Erin Sterling, and it's kind of like a witchy rom-com set in October in this like town in the US that's like super witchy and stuff, but like there's like a lot of witches there, and there's like normal people who don't know about the witches, and then something goes wrong between like this girl when like she meets a guy who's also a witch, which is 19. They date for a couple of months, they break up because, and like this is not a spoiler because it happens like the first 2 pages, like they're already breaking up when the book starts, because she finds out that he was betrothed and he didn't tell her, but he had never met the person he was betrothed to. His like dad arranged it, and he like tells her because he's like, I have to go home and like call this off because I like you, and then she's obviously upset about him knowing he had a fiance. So she breaks up with him, and her cousin convinces her to pretend to curse him for fun, and then, you know, 10 years almost, like 9 actually, I think 9 years passes, and you know everything seems fine. They kind of just like stalk each other a little bit on social media, and everything looks fine. Actually, he doesn't look cursed. But 9 years later, his dad tells him he has to go back to this town because his family has like a responsibility to like recharge the ley lines in the town. And so he does, and everything starts going wrong because it becomes kind of apparent to the reader that the curse did work, but only in the town, it seems like. So now everything is going wrong, so and the magic gets messed up, and the ley lines get messed up, and now magic doesn't quite work. And yeah, that's what I'm reading. I'm 53% through that, so not a lot left. And then I'm also dipping my toes into horror for the first time. If you have heard me talk about books before, I usually say I read pretty much anything except horror. I'm dipping my toes into horror for the first time. I think this is more of a comedy horror, so hopefully I'm gonna be able to handle it, but I'm a little bit scared already, and I'm only 11% in. But it's the audiobook of Monsters and Mainframes by, who's the author? Barbara Truelove. Because I heard about it and it sounded so interesting and I had to try it out. It's like a sci-fi and fantasy horror. It's set on a spaceship, like far off into the future, a spaceship that is traveling between Earth and like another planet, like many years away, and like shipping people between Earth and this place if they want to move between the two places. And at the beginning of the book, like the entire book is told from the AI of the ship's perspective. And she wakes up at the beginning of the book and she realizes like she's been offline and she's not supposed to be offline, and all the passengers are dead. And it turns out that Dracula was on board and he like escapes out into this new planet. And then years and years go by and she's not like, she doesn't shuffle any passengers because like she's the ship where everyone died on, so no one's going to travel on her. But she's, you know, she's like refurbished, repainted, she's giving a new numerical code so people doesn't know it's the same ship. And then she starts to with passengers again, and then the same thing happens where everyone is killed except 2 children, and that's where I'm at, and I'm like, ah. And she's like, and obviously it's told from an AI, and AI can't it's told like from the AI logic of someone who can't feel emotions, to someone who can't actually follow reason, only like protocols. And also obviously the villain of this book is a vampire. It's Dracula. And vampires can't be seen on camera, so the AI obviously can't see the monster that is chasing her passengers. And I know at some point it's gonna also be involved like monster hunters, like one is gonna be like a werewolf, there's gonna be an engineered monster, so basically Frankenstein's monster, an ancient pharaoh, so like a mummy I'm assuming, and stuff, and they're gonna be like investigating, trying to capture Dracula, and I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I'm scared already. But it's also very interesting. I'm audiobooking it because my library only had the audiobook, and the first entire chapter is a very short chapter, but it's told in binary code, so I was kind of I started the book and it just had like a solid 4 minutes of someone in a very monotone, almost robotical voice, obviously the narrator, going something like 0 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 0 0 1 1 1, and then I was like, and then the actual story starts, and it's like, what was that? But it's kind of fun as well. So yeah, those are my current reads. I'm also currently reading A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, which I have been reading technically ongoing for a while. I bought it when it was brand new, started reading it, got distracted, as I do, and now I was gonna read it, and then I started over like a month ago because I couldn't remember anything, and also now I had the audiobook, so I was gonna do like an immersive read, but I wanted to like listen to the parts I hadn't listened to, so I'm gonna listen up to where I was, and then I was gonna immersive read, and I once again got distracted by other books, but it's so good, I want to read it. It's it's an Arthurian retelling in like, I think like it's supposed to also be inspired by a kind of Peaky Blinders. So it's set in a fantasy world that's inspired by the time period. I don't know which time period Peaky Blinders is set in, but it's set in like in a fantasy world inspired by England at the time of like Peaky Blinders, which I think they're not English, they're what, Irish. I've never seen Peaky Blinders, but it's like that time period inspired by England, and we're following Artie, who obviously is a play on Arthur, but there's a high story, there's vampires, it's just so good, and we are following the Casimir siblings, who aren't actual siblings, but it's Artie. She is from a country that was colonized by this country that we're in. I can't remember the name of, but it's the one that's inspired by England. And like it's very like her family was very clear that they were killed. She was the survivor. She came to this country. She doesn't respect it. She kind of wants to break it down, and she's very angry at the rulers of this nation. And she managed to pull the gun from the stones. It's not a sword. Excalibur isn't a sword, it's a gun. A gun that can transform into any weapon she wants. So she carries that around, and come on! Why am I stuck in air? That's not fair. But yeah, and there's this heist. They find out that like these documents that the monarch, like that could incriminate the monarch, is at this vampire club called Arthurium, and they're now gonna break into the Arthurium to get those to like blackmail. And it's a heist story. It has tea. It has, because they run a tea house by day, and then it's a like illegal blood house by night for vampires. But it's great, and I love it so far. And I suck at describing it, but I did say that this is where we're gonna finish this video, and I don't want to lie to you, so yeah, thank you so much for watching this. It was very rambly. You know, hope you got to train your horses too. My horse is level 13 now, correct? Yeah, level 13. So yeah, I hope you were well training your horses, and that you had a fun time listening to this and letting me keep you company while you did that. You know, let me know how it went. Also, you know, you can tell me about your favorite books or whatever's going on in your life right now. Because I do love whenever you guys comment. It makes me very happy. Yeah, also, I have talked a bit about my Instagram. If you want, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am Kaiser Dragonroad there too. I'm a tad bit more active there usually, at least on my stories, and I also post a bit more because it doesn't take a long time to edit a photo as to edit a video. So if you want to know more about me, also see a little bit about my IRL life, like my cat or my horses, sometimes I'll post on my stories as well. You can follow me there. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, you know, comment down below, whatever you're feeling like. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing, because it does make me very happy to see that you do subscribe and that you do enjoy the content I'm making. So yeah, thank you so much again for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I guess I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.